Hey everybody, Todd back here for our hYg virtual Devo. So glad to have you guys watching today, and this is episode 5. We've been doing this for about 6 weeks now. We had 1 week where the episode was a little bit different because of my COVID sickness, but this is episode 5 officially, but we've done it for about 6 weeks. So we're glad to have you back here with us to go over this week's lesson. This week's lesson is called Light the Fire. And we're going to be looking at the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, I know this is a story all of you have probably heard before, and a lot of people look at this as a children's story, but it's so much more. And the reason people look at it as a children's story is because it's easy with this imagery and what happened. It's easy to teach, I guess, in a Sunday school Bible class to younger kids. But this has so many layers to it. It has so many lessons we can learn. And we can look at it from so many different directions. And this week we're going to look at it from, like I said, the direction of what I'm calling light the fire. Because I feel like that these guys had a fire lit inside of them when they were, when they were told they had to do something that would go against God, and when they were being forced to do something that wouldn't please God. But if they didn't do it, it would hurt them. But they were more interested in pleasing God. So the fire was lit in them to do the right thing. And I feel like in the time we're going in right now, that there's a lot of things going on, guys, that should be lighting the fire. Not necessarily from this point of view or world point of view or anything, but as a child of God, we should be having the fire lit, because there are a lot of people out there that are being led by things that are other than their spiritual life. And we should be so excited right now that the opportunities are there, that even though the world is coming down on Christianity right now, and we're getting more pushback than we ever have. We still live in a free country, but we're getting more pushback than we ever have. But there's more people that need to hear it. There's more people that need to see us live it. So we should have the fire lit because of the environment that we're in right now. So if you look at your Devo guide, there was a picture of it before we started. And of course, if you were at church Sunday, you were able to pick one up. The text is Daniel chapter 3. The memory verse this week, what I want you to think of when you hear this story, comes from verses 16 through 18. And this is when Nebuchadnezzar was told that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had not followed his rules. And he brought them before him, and said, "Is this true? You're not worshiping this image when you're told to. You're going to be thrown into this furnace if you don't." And faced with that, here's what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said in your memory verse this week in Daniel chapter 3, verses 16 through 18. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up." Basically, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not going to do something that would harm their relationship with God. And when they were brought before the authorities, they said, "Look, God will save us from this if this is his will. But even if he doesn't, that's his will. And what's going to be done is going to be done. And we will not serve your God. We will only serve ours." You see, a fire had been lit inside of them that they weren't going to do anything to harm their relationship with God. And then as we get towards the end of the story, we all know what happens. I hope you know what happens. Of course, you read this whole chapter and you get the full breadth of the story. But of course, at the end, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are thrown in the fiery furnace, but they are saved. They're saved by God, and this is a miracle from God. This really is nothing that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did other than do what they were supposed to, and then God performed the miracle for them to be saved. And what this did, they didn't even smell like smoke. That's how awesome this miracle was. And then of course, Nebuchadnezzar basically was, believed in God after that. So the example that they set, because of the fire that God lit inside of them, many people believed on their God, in our God. So that's the story here. We're going to look real quick at the Devo guide. There's 3 discussion questions. Again, this is individual. You discuss it with yourself, like I'd like to talk to myself sometimes. Or this is a family Devo time with all of our hYg people. First discussion question says, can you see a correlation to some of the things that we bow down to today and Nebuchadnezzar's golden image? Whether we're being told to bow down to certain things or whether we're doing it on our own. Compare that to what Nebuchadnezzar is asking these people to do. Second one says, being saved in the fiery furnace was an act of God. In this story, outside of that, to you, what is the most impressive thing about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? I don't know if I worded that right, but basically what I'm saying is, inside the fiery furnace, everything that led up to that and what happened after that was because of the faith Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had. Inside of that was about God. So, we are obviously impressed with what God can do. But outside of what God did in that part of the story, what impresses you the most about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? I think you already know from my point of view from what our memory verse was. And then the third one says, how can our example when faced with a tough decision lead others to God? And of course, that's basically what happened at the end of chapter 3 when it says in verse 29, therefore I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made in an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. And that lit a fire under other people, I bet. So that's what happened with their example. So the question is, how can our example, when faced with a tough decision, lead others to God? So that's your discussion questions. Then the putting it into action is a little bit different this week. I'm going to read it to you. It says, this week's action challenge is a personal one. We will face many trials over our lifetime. Sometimes those trials shake our faith. Talk to God this week. Pray to Him to prepare you spiritually to face those trials, to be ready, to not falter. Ask for guidance and strength to be ready for those fiery trials and for God to light the fire in your life. So I hope you guys are blessed by this lesson. I hope it gets you excited when you see people of God like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego have a fire lit to do the right thing for God. And that example brings other people to God. And even when we're in this quarantine, half quarantine, half in, half out, all the things that are going on around, all the decrees or the mandates or whatever, we can still set an example from God if you'll let Him light your fire. So after this, I invite you to sing along. We're going to have a little version of Light the Fire after this video. I hope you will sing along as an individual or as a family. And I hope God lights the fire in your life this week. And I pray for y'all daily. And I love you. And God loves you. And we will see you right here for episode 6 next week. See ya.
I stand to praise you, but I fall to my knees. My spirit is willing, but my flesh is so weak. Light the fire in my soul. Fan the flame. Make me whole. Lord, you know where I've been. So light the fire in my heart again. I feel your arms around me as the power of your healing begins. Your spirit moves right through me like a mighty rushing wind. Light the fire